Kia ora or welcome back to the Plant Power Podcast. My name is Dylan Steeples, coming to you all the way from Aotearoa, New Zealand. And I'm so grateful that this week I get to share a conversation I had with my friend Graedon Pakeha about the future of hemp. We talk about gut health. We talk about how we can make real and lasting changes in our community towards a more conscious and mindful culture and society. But first, I kind of just want to talk about what I'm here to do with the Plant Power Podcast. So I'm here to provide you with information and knowledge to expand your mind, to make you think outside the box so you can learn to grow and become like the best version of yourself. And I just want to help people to live more compassionately and a more richer life in line with your values and free from suffering for other beings and from yourself, getting out of that constant cycle of trying to find peace externally in products and people and services, and realizing that you can find peace and joy and happiness internally. You have everything you need right now to be happy. So that's what I do. I have awesome guests on the show each week. I'm so lucky to get to talk with them and share the information with you. And then other weeks I focus on another topic that I'm really interested in, just to kind of give you my insights and thoughts into it. So that's 2 podcasts a week. And I just wanted to talk really quickly about how you can support the show. So you can support the show. The best way and best thing you can do is to support the show by sharing it with your friends. You can subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to the podcast, or you can leave a review on iTunes or again wherever you listen to the podcast. This is amazing and it helps get the ranks up and it's awesome. But I also wanted to talk about Patreon. So Patreon is a crowdsourced funding platform where you can donate as little as $1 a month to support me to continue to put out this show. And we live in a world where content is becoming increasingly free and in fact, and mostly a lot higher quality than anything you would ever pay for. So there's YouTube, there's podcasts, there's news websites, magazines, all this stuff is free. But to allow this flow of quality free content to keep coming, content creators like myself need your support. And you know, if I really think about it, I would love to keep this podcast free from advertising, because no matter how much I love a product and agree with it or anything like that, it kind of affects that relationship between me and you, the listener. It kind of sort of sullies it a little bit, and I don't want to have to do that, but I need to be able to keep doing this, and I need support to be able to keep putting out this content. So I want to ask you, the listener, right now, that if you find value in the content that I put out, the 2 podcasts I put out each week, if you feel like they add value to your life, then please consider supporting the show. In order for the show to continue and grow better and get awesome, better guests on here and all of that, in order just for it to grow, I need your support. And please don't fall into the trap where you think that everyone else is supporting me or donating money to me, because everyone thinks that, and then everyone thinks that everyone else is doing it, but then no one does it. And I love and I'm so grateful for the tiny percent of you who do support me on Patreon. It means the world, and it blows me away. But think about it like this: if you're happy to buy a coffee each day, or happy to buy new clothes because they add value to your life, then consider supporting this show if it truly adds value to your life. And in doing so, you allow this content to keep flowing and to get better and better and better. So that's just what I really had to share with you guys. I'm not asking for money because I want to be able to go buy a bunch of stuff. It's so I can continue to keep doing this, so I can continue to keep bringing these awesome conversations, this knowledge, and spreading this movement for all of you, women, men, whatever you call yourself out there. I'm doing this for you, and if you support me, then I can continue to do this. So thank you for listening to this, and if you go into the show notes, you will find the link to my Patreon where you can pledge as little as $1 a month. And I admit that this whole system of supporting the show is super clunky, but at the moment it's the best we have. So please consider it, and I thank all of you so much just for supporting me in any way possible. It means the world to me. So, Graedon, if you live in New Zealand, then most of you probably know Graedon as one of the guys from the community and health-conscious kombucha brewing enterprise known as Organic Mechanic, where he is the creative director. Where, seriously, they're truly amazing team and family have birthed a company which I seriously believe is the new face, or has become the new face of business. They put the goal of educating and inspiring healthy, conscious, and mindful living beyond anything else. And it's so obvious if you know Organic Mechanic in New Zealand, and I'm telling you that these guys are really doing something cool. And that's what they've done. What's cool, they have succeeded in create a community of like-minded souls who are basically, we're tired of the status quo, and we want to make a difference in our culture and society. And just for me personally to be part of this community is so motivational. But Graedon's work also extends beyond this, where he has an organization called Hemp for Victory, which is aimed basically at legalizing the growing and consumption of hemp in New Zealand, and then also facilitating people who are interested in either purchasing or growing or becoming a part of this movement, or the hemp movement. So in this conversation, we talk about hemp, we talk about the history of hemp, why it is only now that this amazing resource that can be used for a number of things, which we get into the podcast, is only now just being recognized. And we also talk about the things that it can be used for, and we talk a little bit more about why hemp and cannabis itself has been so stigmatized in our society and the reasons behind that. And then we'll also go into Graedon's personal journey. It's definitely an interesting one. He found himself, just when he was finishing uni, super sick and tired, and he got sick and tired of being sick of tired, and he wanted to make a change. He learned about healthy eating, the importance of the gut, and now he's part of the team of change makers at Organic Mechanic. So we talk about a bunch of stuff, and I really enjoyed having this conversation. And just to let you know, we were sitting outside on Graedon's roof at his house, so you're going to hear some birds, you're going to hear a lot of nature around us, so enjoy it. It was a really great experience, and I'm so grateful that I got to sit down with Graedon, so please enjoy it. Thank you guys so much for listening. I love all of you. Go do some meditation, go eat some healthy food. Peace and namaste. Cool. Welcome, guys. I'm sitting here with Graedon on his roof amongst the sun and the trees and the birds. How you going?
Good, thanks, bro.
Yeah, sure for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. And I guess I really wanted to start it straight away. It was what happened for hemp in New Zealand last week.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, it's an interesting one because Australia and New Zealand are both governed by the same kind of MPI, Ministry of Primary Industries, and Australia and New Zealand were the last two countries in the entire world that were still using the old school way of calling hemp food animal food.
Yeah.
For what reason, I'm not sure, but in the last week they just passed some new news. It's not new legislation yet.
Yeah.
But it's in the process of being categorized as a safe for human consumption, which it has been for the last 1,000 years, but they've just decided
1,000 years plus.
Yeah.
But I know that you have did you start Hemp for Victory then?
Yeah.
So what is that?
Yeah, Hemp Victory is a social awareness campaign, bringing awareness to the uses of hemp as a food, fiber, fuel, plastic, clothing. You can use it to build homes, all sorts of things in New Zealand and around the world. Yeah. So hemp, originally it was a branding campaign for the Aotearoa Legalized Cannabis Party.
Right.
But they decided not to use it, and so I had all of this material,
really,
which I then just applied into something of my own, Hemp for Victory.
So was the focus at the start was more about just legalizing marijuana?
Yeah, I mean back then, this was in 2014.
Yeah.
It was an election year.
Yeah.
And I had some friends working for ALCP, and they needed a tune-up, a fresh face. Yeah. And that was part of the reason why I'm doing Hemp for Victory, is to change the people's perception of it. Yeah. Because it has quite a stigma. Yeah. And yeah, they didn't end up using the branding, so I then applied it to hemp, which I thought was could be much more better publicized and used.
Yeah.
Rather than the whole stoner aspect of cannabis.
Yeah. Why do you think that? Like, so how, like, let's just be real simple and like real back to basics. How is hemp similar to the marijuana that people smoke?
Yeah. So the first thing is that to not call it marijuana.
Yeah.
Because that was a slang term that was created to make the plant illegal back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And to address it more as cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
And so as cannabis as a whole has a whole lot of different strains.
Yeah.
Right? And one strain in particular, an indica based strain, which grows these big flowers, which you call the buds, and which are really high in THC.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the way you grow it, you can also grow it with a high dose of CBD as well, which is the cancer beneficial for cancer patients.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas hemp, which is more on the sativa strain, which grows a lot taller and less buds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the hemp strain of the cannabis sativa grows no buds at all, and it focuses on seeds.
Yeah.
And it will grow up to 3 meters in height.
Yeah. Wow.
1 acre will sometimes have about 3 tons of usable seed.
Holy shit.
So you could smoke a joint of hemp, but you only get a headache.
Yeah. And so hemp's actually just using the seed.
Yeah.
From the cannabis plant.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's a totally different strain to what you'd use to smoke or to prescribe to a patient.
And you mentioned some of the uses of it before, but so do you want to talk about like what hemp can be used for?
Yeah, man. So one of the first ways that I got into hemp was because of the hemp seed, the food. One of the highest, or one of the only plants on earth with the sacred ratio of omega-3, 6 and 9, these essential fatty acids, which are really good for our eyes, skin, heart, brain, all of that kind of thing. And then those seeds can be crushed up into an oil, hemp oil, which is great for salads and rubbing on your skin.
Yeah.
So there's a whole food industry there with the seeds, really high in protein as well. Great protein alternative to whey protein. Yeah. Which is made from cow's milk.
Whey's great though, because you muscly is.
Oh yeah, real quick. Yeah, because it's made to make cows grow 10 times the size. But then also there's a whole lot of other aspects to the hemp oil in regards to making plastic. So one of Henry Ford's first cars was made from the body of the car was made from hemp fiberglass. Yeah. And then it ran on hemp ethanol. So this whole car was powered by this plant. Yeah. In which he grew these hemp fields. So there's a huge. Shortly after that, hemp was made illegal. Yeah. But there's a huge industry there for the oil and plastic. Right. So you can make products from it. You use it as a material and stuff. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. And then that's just the seed. Once you get to the stalk, which is sometimes 3 meters tall, you need some machinery called a decorticator to harvest that, which can be quite hard to obtain at these times. But that basically strips the outer fibers off the stalk, which then can be used for materials like clothing, parachutes and ropes and all kinds of things. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that during the World War II, people were kind of forced in the US to grow hemp to help feed into the army uniforms and the parachutes, and even the first US flag was sewn with hemp. George Washington and all those brothers, they knew. They were onto it. Yeah.
What happened with like hemp, like to get it to where it is today, where it was just made legal to even consume it as human? How did it get so caught up with the THC kind of cannabis, and the hemp as a material? Because it's obviously like so amazing.
Yeah.
Is there like a conspiracy theory behind that?
Yeah, there's a huge conspiracy, which, I believe to be the reason, and most cannabis hemp advocates around the world will agree that after World War II, when hemp was being used widely for all sorts of materials, after the war finished, there was no more need for all this material. But people kept producing it, and because of all the propaganda they created to make people grow it, there was actually a campaign called Hemp for Victory, and you can find that.
Wow.
Like a 10-minute video on.
So was that like in the 1950s or something?
Yeah, 1950s. You can find that on YouTube if you just search Hemp for Victory. So after the war, all of this material was continued to be used and developed, and slowly but surely they saw that this was going to really threaten the cotton industry, the timber industry, the oil industry. And so all of these guys got together. One of them name was J.P. Morgan.
Oh, right.
And then
what does he do now? I've heard that name before.
He's in the bank.
Oh, okay.
And
Right,
oil game.
Sweet. Enough said. Yeah.
One of the godfathers of corporate industry.
Yeah.
He got together with another guy named William Randolph Hearst, who, to the best of my knowledge, was involved in the timber industry, and then also involved in the paper industry. And he had control over the media because he was printing the papers. He was printing the paper.
Right.
So these guys all came together, and there was a company called DuPont.
Yeah, I heard of them.
In there too, which was part of this whole ring, and created a propaganda campaign against hemp first and foremost, but used the THC version of cannabis as the driver for the campaign. So they made a documentary or a short movie called Reefer Madness, which depicted white people smoking cannabis and then like pretty much going crazy and raping and killing each other just because of smoking this herb. And then they printed in the newspapers that black people and Mexican people were smoking cannabis, or marijuana was the name they gave it, the slang term.
So it's like,
and raping white women. So automatically pretty much the entire of America was against it. And they supported this law which outlawed cannabis, but without knowing it, they were also outlawing hemp too, which was the main reason why they wanted to do it. Was to just get rid of this crop. And then in the 60s, one of the presidents in the United States, can't remember his name, but pretty much all cannabis around the world was burnt, and it was criminalized, and that began the war on drugs.
It's insane. And you can imagine in the 1950s it wasn't like Facebook or anything. You know, people just believe what they read in the newspapers and stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
And so now we're like in today, like why are we where's this new kind of revolution coming from, where it's becoming like, in America in some states it's legal now to buy cannabis? Where's this all coming from?
I think that the modern day social media has a lot to do with it, and the way that we're spreading and disseminating information. There's a lot of disinformation out there too, but I think you can't stop the truth from coming out.
Exactly.
People playing around with cannabis oil and managing to beat their cancer because they've been taking this oil which they apply to their gums, which causes cell apoptosis, and all the cancer cells in your body kill themselves.
So that's all. It's not. It's like, what's the other one you called? It's not THC. It's, what's it called?
CBD.
So CBD, that's the one that can be used like medicinally. And that's found in oils and stuff.
Right. So when you grow cannabis, you get THC and CBD are like, you can't get heaps of them both. They level each other out.
Yeah.
So if you have a high CBD strain cannabidiol, then you have a low THC. But if you have a high THC level, tetrahydrocannabinol, you have a low CBD.
Wow.
So the ones that they're using to deal with cancers and other chronic diseases like multiple sclerosis and things like that, to do with the autoimmune system.
Yeah.
They're using high CBD strains, which get in there and target the damaged cells.
Right. But this is illegal?
In New Zealand at this point there's people that are in the government which are stopping this from being widespread.
Well, there's people that could be like getting help with their cancer, but they can't because it's legal.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucked.
There is an alternative available called Sativex, which is a medicinal, like pharmaceutical blend of these alkaloids.
Yeah.
But it's about $1,000 a week to obtain.
Yeah.
Where you can grow your own plant in 3 to 4 months for literally nothing.
Right. And I think lots of people's misconception, probably mine up until recently, was that if you were using cannabis medicinally, you're not like smoking it and stuff. So like a kid wouldn't have to like start smoking cannabis or anything.
Nah. So there's all different kinds of ways that you can ingest it. Some people do smoke it. Some people will smoke a joint, rip a bong. Yeah. All of that kind of thing. But then there's also like oil which you can apply to your gums, oil which you can put on your food. Yeah. I know some people who have given it to their children who have chronic seizures. Yeah. In a form of a bliss ball, and almost immediately the seizures stop. Right. After years and years of it having a high CBD dosage, giving that to a child with chronic seizures, done.
So do you think, like from the medicinal standpoint, there's will be a bit of pushback from like the pharmaceutical industry because they don't want really people growing their own medicine and stuff?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think what will happen is that there's not long until it all becomes all out in the open. Yeah. So they'll have no choice but to be able to control the industry. So they'll be growing that. The pharmaceutical industry will be growing their own. Yeah. And then taking that and then putting that into some kind of pharmaceutical product, which is the Sativex. That's one form. And they're selling it for ridiculous amounts of money. So having control over this market is, I think, what they will try and do. But I think, we need to seriously reconsider the cannabis laws in New Zealand and look at the facts and ask ourselves why we are letting this continue as it is.
Do you think there's kind of, especially from the older generations, especially like the old white guys who just like they don't even know anything about cannabis, they just associate cannabis with like stoners and stuff, and that's why there's like a lot of pushback even from parents and stuff. They don't even know anything about it, but they know that they don't want their kids doing it. It's like not there's no kind of reasoning behind it. So do you think that kind of understanding of cannabis is like kind of holds it back from making any like progression in like the parliament or whatever?
Definitely.
In politics.
Definitely. I think for the most of it, the older generation is still caught up in the propaganda which was fed to them 20 or 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Yeah. And then they've heard all these horror stories and may have even tried it and just had a really bad experience and then just gone totally against it for the rest of their life. But I think one of the biggest problems here, much like binge drinking, is a much larger problem than cannabis, but it's celebrated here in Aotearoa. But the thing with cannabis is we don't have those elders around to really teach us how to use this plant, because it's been suppressed and prohibited. and we know from history that prohibition is just not the answer.
Yeah.
So I think, more education around the plant rather than all this propaganda, this old school thought, the way of looking at cannabis.
Yeah. That's funny, just when you were saying that, like talking about the old people, it makes me think of a photo. I think I'm like 6 months old, being held by my granddad, who died now from drinking and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But he's like holding me, and he's got like a beer can, and he's like putting it to my mouth, and like that photo's like crack up right, and everyone looks at it and laughs, and it's fine. But if he was holding a joint to my mouth, that'd be like a way different story. People would be like, whoa, what are you doing? That's so dangerous. Because I know you're like real passionate about this. Is drinking and alcohol is so normalized in our society, and then as soon as someone finds that you smoke cannabis, they're like, oh, you're just a stoner, like, and you can't do that because it's dangerous, and it's so screwed up.
You'll lose your motivation. And you'll become like all those other stoners. Yeah.
But I mean, and in terms of just like talking about like the THC type of cannabis, like what's like kind of your relationship? Because I have experimented it with, but probably not many times, like in like the best situations. So I have had kind of not the best experiences with it.
Yeah.
And even thinking about it, I still get like jaded by it because of that kind of like whole aura that kind of is around it, of like negativity and stuff. You're like, it's so easy to get caught up in it. But yeah, so how do you kind of view like the use of cannabis as like I don't even know what you'd call it, just instead of
recreational activity. Yeah, totally, man. I think that's definitely something we need to talk about in society as decriminalization and legalization comes, as to what kind of culture do we want to have around this plant. Because with alcohol, you can see it, and we've all experienced it. There's a culture of binge drinking and complete ridiculous behavior, and sometimes you don't even remember what you've done. And one of the main causes of death around the world is alcohol consumption. But you'll see that out on the streets, on the billboards, on the ads, people you respect, and all these kinds of people drinking alcohol on TV, and it's just normal to do that. And so with cannabis, I think we need to sit down and figure out some guidelines for what is healthy use, what is abuse, and then when does it become an issue that needs to be addressed? Because I've seen both sides of the cannabis usage. First, I started getting into it when I moved away from home and was at university and had my first smoke and experienced this incredible rush of creativity and insight, which I just had even thought of it at that point in time. And my relationship with it went from there, and I'd seen other people go through that, and I'd seen also other people start smoking and then not stop, and they develop really unhealthy habits and antisocial habits of just smoking all the time, and whether that was to numb certain emotions or lifestyle situations. That's when it becomes almost a mental issue. And cannabis is not a great help when you have existing conditions. It can really bring them out into the open for you to deal with, for sure.
So it's like a medicine in that way, kind of.
But I think there needs to be some kind of guidelines set for the correct and proper use, both medicinally and...
But there's not that though, because it's illegal. I'm figuring it out.
Suppressed.
Because it's like taboo to, you couldn't go up to your mum or dad and be like, how much, like, they would never talk to you about it, or if you're when you start drinking, it's like only have one, because you don't want to like get sick or whatever, but there's no information or education around smoking cannabis.
And with you can go out and buy like a 40 ounce of vodka. That's infinitely more dangerous than someone smoking a joint.
But I mean, if you look at it, it's because there's like so much money behind and like the government makes so much money from alcohol. So, what's the solution for making cannabis? If it's legal, is that just going to be the same thing? It's just going to become like a thing that the government's making tax off? Is that like the incentive that we can give the government to make it legal?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that can be done. It's happening over in the States. I'm not sure if you've seen. In Colorado, that it's created, I think, $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
And it's all being taxed.
Yeah.
So it's creating huge financial benefit for the government. I think the issue in New Zealand is the education about growing it and the systems that we'd have as like cultivation, harvesting. We just don't have the machinery. But yeah, I think definitely taxing it as a motivation for the government to get going is a good idea.
Yeah. So, what would that look like though? Because is what's happening in America, has that been? Because as soon as it becomes like legal, right, people know how to use it, and it stops becoming this kind of underground, illegal, black market thing.
Yeah.
So what's to stop it from just becoming like another alcohol thing? I mean, it's not as bad as alcohol, but if it starts becoming like a thing that companies start, taking advantage of and start selling, like, can you see it becoming like real good legal, and then it just goes like downhill again? Everyone's like, well, not really. Yeah. Can you see that like once it's not illegal anymore, it's on the open, that there'll be more education and stuff around it?
Yeah, I mean, like there's always potential for it to just go belly up.
Yeah.
I think if we do it mindfully and slowly, one step at a time, and really educate the young people about it, then I think we'll be heading in the right direction.
Yeah. And because at the moment, would you say that because it's illegal, it can be like sort of, I don't know if you like you like agree with this, but it can be like a gateway drug to other drugs?
Yeah.
Is that because it's illegal? Would that change if it was legal? Do you think?
Yeah, like, so you mean how ganja can be seen as like a gateway drug?
Yeah, I mean, that's like what all the parents will say, right? Like,
yeah.
You can't do it. You're gonna, next thing you're doing, you'll be doing meth, like
heroin.
Just like that. Yeah. Somehow that just happens.
Yeah. I'd say you can do that with anything, eh? Like, alcohol can lead you to some crazy places too, and so can cheeseburgers. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like you kind of said before, you touched on it before, is that alcohol and abusing cannabis is like the cure, right, to your problems, because you're trying to like cover up some problems, so you're looking into those things to hide behind it or mask it. So that's when those things actually become the cure, not the problem. The problem is way deeper inside.
Yeah.
So that's what you're kind of saying, is that if someone's gonna do meth, they're probably gonna do it. There's multiple ways you could end up doing that.
Yeah, I guess so. That like cannabis is not any different to anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, you might get into smoking tobacco, but that's legal. Like that, and that's the second leading cause of death is the tobacco industry.
Yeah.
The gateway drug thing, I'm not 100% sure about that.
Yeah.
I know that's how we market kombucha down at the Om Shack. Is you try kombucha and then it just opens you up.
Gateway, yeah. Yeah.
So it's thinking about your body differently.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be so interesting to like see if it does come legal, how, because it could go really downhill if people were like, right, I can legally buy smokes, alcohol and cannabis.
Yeah.
Sweet. It's like another thing I'm just gonna do. But I don't know, it sounds like from kind of what you've said in your experiences that it could be more of like a teacher and kind of make you more mindful. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so, with the right application and the right intention and its use.
Yeah.
So lately, before I have any kind of ceremonial, recreational experience with the plant, I will say a karakia, or
what's that?
dedicate an intention.
Okay.
like a prayer.
Yeah.
To what I'd like to get out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and to acknowledge the plant and where it was grown and who had grown it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fully connected into the lineage
Mm-hmm.
of where this had come from.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, even when we eat, sometimes we're not connected to where the food comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so, what exactly are you guys doing with like Hemp for Victory? What's the next steps now?
Yeah, so it's been in the pipeline for about 3 years now, just as a side project.
Yeah.
On the side of organic mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
And lately, in the last few months, it's just been like a plant that's just ready to blossom.
Yeah.
And people are looking now. I'm getting about 10 emails a week now.
Holy crap.
Of people just being like, hey, where can I, they ask one of 3 questions. Hey, where can I get some hemp seed to eat?
Yeah.
Hey, where can I learn about how to grow hemp? Like,
Yeah.
I'm interested, I've got some land
Yeah.
I need to grow. And then the third one is, hey, I want to work on a hemp farm. Like, where can I work?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of validation for all of these 3 channels,
Yeah.
which people are demanding.
Yeah.
It's starting to get hit to.
Yeah.
And so I think Hemp for Victory, it's an ongoing experiment, but I think where it's headed is to help bridge the gap for people between not knowing about hemp and then knowing about hemp and being empowered to be able to grow it in their own backyards.
Yeah.
And then create an industry for themselves, or just food for their home.
Yeah. What's it like? Do you have like a farm or something? Is that right?
Hemp farm?
Yeah.
Not at the moment.
Yeah.
I've experimented with growing hemp.
Yeah.
Just in small batches.
Yeah.
And then have had friends which have had hemp
Yeah.
farms.
Because there's some in South Auckland, right?
Yeah, there's one in Pukekohe.
Yeah.
The other one I know of is in the Waikato with the hemp farm.
Yeah.
Dave.
Oh right,
Dave
yeah,
Jordan.
yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I went and helped down there with Cam Sims.
Yeah.
Of plant culture.
Yeah.
And we helped the harvest of 7 or 8 hectares of hemp.
Damn.
Hemp crop. And the decorticator, like the combine harvester they had, ended up breaking down just because it was from the 60s. And like I said before, the machinery is just not here to be able to process hemp on that mass scale yet, because there's not the money in the industry.
Because it's legal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think things are moving that way now. So the next plant, which is in October, that is when the next seed will go down, and harvest is in April. I think off this next harvest there'll be a whole lot more buzz around hemp and cannabis as a whole.
And is it quite easy to grow? Like.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they don't call it weed for nothing. It does need, like, cannabis in particular, the THC, CBD cannabis, needs particularly a lot of sunlight and a lot of water, especially when it's blooming. So when it's creating the buds.
Yeah.
And then the same with the hemp when it's creating the seeds.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, man, because on the hemp farm there's 7 hectares of hemp, and the birds all love it. You know, that, like, all these birds, they're sitting on the fence, like, waiting for days for these seeds to get to the point where they pop open, and then they just get in there and
go ravenous. Wow.
And so Kenny, one of the farmers from the hemp farm, he was just going up and down on his motorbike just to scare the birds off while they were trying to harvest.
Yeah.
But it's crazy, man, because the birds all love this crop too.
Yeah.
And it's like animal feed, but it's so good for us too.
Yeah. That's crazy,
Yeah.
Man. And I kind of want to, like, go on to something else, but, like, what would you say for someone who's listening, they're still like, nah, man, you haven't sold me, like, it's just a drug.
Yeah.
We can't do this, it's illegal, blah, blah, blah. Like, what would you say to someone like that?
Firstly, I'd ask, like, what do you constitute as a drug? Because something that grows in the in the ground, and it has been around for over 10,000 years. The earliest recorded cannabis plant was from China, and
Wow.
a couple of thousand years ago. For cannabis to be considered a drug alongside something like Ritalin or antibiotics, things like that for me that's just a totally different classification, and that puts cannabis as a herb, right?
Yeah.
Just the same way that a mushroom is a fungi,
Yeah.
and it can be like synthesized or processed to be a drug,
Yeah.
but in its natural form, I don't see it that way. And I think, pharmaceutical drugs are one of the, I think it's number 3 in the worldwide death index.
Yeah.
So you got alcohol, tobacco, and pharmaceutical drugs being the main causes of death around the world. And for cannabis, which has had absolutely no deaths recorded for the entire history that we have known this plant, absolutely none, for that to be lumped into the same category as things like Ritalin, which have caused all sorts of problems and deaths in society, I just wouldn't agree.
Yeah. There's nothing you can really say. We're just like, cool. And I kind of that's cool. I kind of want to get more into like a bit about you and stuff. So like, where did you grow up? I don't even know.
Sure. I grew up out in Howick.
Oh, man.
Bucklands Beach.
Yeah.
Out east with all the guys that run Organic Mechanics.
Really?
We all went to the same primary school and intermediate.
Yeah, and so I know you studied was it graphic design or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ended up got a scholarship to study down in Wellington.
Yeah.
So I moved down there, moved away from my parents, and that's when I first tried the ganja. Yeah. But I studied graphic design, 4-year degree at Massey University.
What was your plans after that?
In my final year, I got really sick.
Yeah.
And this was, in hindsight, I figured out it was because of the white bread, the noodles, the double browns, and all the late nights and all the stress.
Yeah. And
I wasn't giving my body any good stuff. And I was just pumping it full of shit.
Yeah.
And expecting to get these results. And I would get the results at uni, but in my body I was just sick. Like I had a cough that lasted for months.
But this is like in hindsight.
Yeah. Well, in hindsight I realised that was why. Yeah. But after being sick for so long, I decided man, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and started to change my diet and change things. And this is in 2011. I started making smoothies. And people were just like, what the f*** are you doing, bro? Like, what is this? Yeah. Like, just, it wasn't even in the consciousness to drink a smoothie. A smoothie was just like ice cream and berries. Yeah. But I was putting greens and apples all in one. Yeah. And it ended up doing my final year project based on this social media campaign called Education Not Medication. Yeah. Which is Ed Not Med. Yeah. Which was a campaign based around the idea of teaching young people aged 18 to 25 about how they could use food as medicine. So like aimed at people that had just moved into flats that were at uni, and teaching them how to basically incorporate nutrients into their life so that they don't end up with cancer and all that kind of thing down the track. And so after university I continued to do that project, and then that started to get some momentum, and then we started Organic Mechanic. Yeah. So it kind of like the things kind of merged and crossed over into Where did you start learning about that stuff though? Like what in 2011, what were you using for your resources and education and stuff? Yeah, man. So the China Study. Really? One of the books that I was reading. Yeah. Forks Over Knives. Yeah. All those docos. Food Matters, Forks Over Knives. Yeah. Hungry for Change. Yeah. I was also really into the anti-fluoride movement. Yeah. And getting into like vaccines and all kinds of things. Yeah. I was pretty hardcore. But yeah, it was mainly documentaries and books, articles online.
Sweet. And so then you're like back in Auckland, and you guys just decided to start Organic Mechanic.
Yeah, man. So
Who started making kombucha?
kombucha came later.
What? Really?
Yeah, man. So when we started Organic Mechanic, I'd just been down at the Hemp store.
Yeah.
And I was trying to hustle some products to give away on Education Not Medication as part of this Hemp Awareness Week.
Yeah.
And I met Jace up in Albert Park.
Mm-hmm.
And he was had a collar and a tie on, looked very corporate. And we just kind of came together and shared some ideas, and we realised that we both had the same vision and the same passion for teaching people about health and well-being and really like shaking up the foundations of society.
Like the status quo, yeah.
Yeah. And so we decided that we'd start making organic smoothies down at the Parnell French markets.
Yeah.
And so we set up there one day. Nick, Jace's younger brother, helped us. He was my best mate at high school, primary school. But then he went back to Boston to finish off his football scholarship.
Yeah.
And so Jace and I were just grinding down there with another brother named Gareth. And eventually we started brewing kombucha to make a probiotic smoothie.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so this was 2 years into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then people just saw us tipping this liquid into the blender and they were like, what are you up to? Like, what is that? Can I just buy that?
Yeah.
And so we were like, sure, that's $20. And then that started flying off the table. So we decided to label that up and got into a couple of key stores.
Yeah.
And now we're in about 100 stores and about 10 refill stations around town.
Wow.
Just encouraging the reuse of the bottles.
Yeah.
And yeah, just pushing the limits.
Yeah, I mean, just I just feel like you guys are such like a conscious company. Yeah, it's so crazy to see. You know, every day you get so, like, you see so many advertisements and everyone's trying to like sell their shit to you, but not because they care about you or because they want you to be healthy. It's just because they want to make money, right? But I just feel like you guys are so, you know, like you genuinely want to someone to drink that's like plant a seed in them and then be like, oh, like maybe I'll try eating more healthy or like, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's always been about, even when we were just making smoothies, it's always been about the people rather than the product.
Yeah.
So when people would come down, we'd just try and make it so that they just had the best experience in the world. We're giving them free hugs. Yeah. Like little free wheatgrass shot on the side, and just make people feel amazing. And that's something we've tried to carry through, and it's been a real differentiating factor in our business. Yeah.
So, and is that how you can see how we can make like a difference in this world with like the way people eat and treat their bodies? Do you think is like by companies like you guys?
Definitely, man. I think like we can try to change governments and things, and we can try to change the legislation. But then we can also use business and positive social enterprise to really like change the consumer population, because that's where the power is. It's the sleeping giant of people who are making consumer choices every day and pouring their money into certain industries. And if we can help to direct that in the right direction, then we've got an army of empowered, conscious people that is infinitely more powerful than a
well, I mean, it's like they're like scared of the masses, right? If there was like people would change their minds tomorrow about the government, then it'd be pretty crazy. But what's like, do you guys have what's your kind of plans for the future, and like do you have any big goals like you guys are kind of like working towards with or Organic Mechanic?
Yeah, man. So like one of the things that we're working on at the moment is upscaling our production, the kombucha production. So currently we're brewing about just under 2,000 litres of kombucha a week, and we're hoping to push that up to 5,000 or even 10,000 in the next few months, and that will enable us to brew enough kombucha to power the whole of Aotearoa, essentially.
Wow. Because is it just Auckland at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be honest, man, kombucha's not the main focus. It's just become like a vehicle for us to create change and get a financial return. But then also it's like the perfect gateway drug.
Yeah.
That you can put on tap at alcohol-free parties and just sponsor all these events in place of alcohol and just really provide an experience for people that can actually shift their awareness.
Yeah.
So some of the bigger plans include, I think we really want to get some land pretty soon, and hopefully in time for the next hemp crop in October. We'll put down our own field, or a small field. But eventually, man, I think the main thing for us is just to raise the level of consciousness in New Zealand and around the world to the point where we can really fundamentally change and transform this planet, because it needs us to really step into that leadership and that shift.
Yeah. So how can you see that happening? Like, what are something that like you're like things that you do, or you could tell other people to do, or you want other people to start doing?
Some action steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Ideas are great, right?
Yeah. Totally, bro. I think far out. The first place that I started was because you can't change the world, but you can change yourself. Right?
Yeah.
And that's like the most effective way. And where I started was changing the things I was eating. And like I was telling you before, and you were the same, but after watching Cowspiracy, it just kind of changed everything in terms of both the nutritional aspect of food, but then also how much certain meat and the way things are produced nowadays can affect the climate of the planet. And so cutting out beef, or even making the simple switch from beef to chicken, is a huge, cut down your carbon footprint. Quite a large
massively.
manner.
Yeah.
So food is a big thing, and incorporating more plants into the diet, and drinking less crap, and really understanding that wherever you put your money, you're supporting that industry. Even like to the point where we bank, the bank that we bank with, we've just recently found out that they are heavily invested in fossil fuels.
Right.
So even to that degree of taking your money out of banks which are no longer serving the planet. I don't know which banks are. Like, let me know if you know. But watching where you put your money, and if you're investing into, say, like a toxic chemical that you're washing your dishes with, that's going into the earth, like everything that we buy and all the packaging that we use there is no way. And the less packaging we can use both in our consumer lives and also as a business, the less packaging that we can create, the less environmental responsibility we have to deal with our products. So consumer choices, and then also the choices that you make as a business owner, or being part of a business. So I think social enterprise is one of the most powerful tools that we can use to help really create change around the world.
Yeah, hard. But I mean, like, Graedon, I want to go to my job, I want to drink my beers, I want to watch rugby with my mates. I don't give a shit about using plastic bags and eating meat and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. What's the solution here?
I just, because I feel like I always have these conversations with people, and then they just go home and just continue on doing their thing, because I don't know, maybe it's just a human this is where we are. We just want it to be easy, right? Like,
Yeah.
we don't want to have to make those hard decisions. We know we're doing these things, but like we're real good at like cognitive dissonance, right?
Yeah.
We can we say one thing, but do another.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, just what do you think about that? Like, how do we get through to these people?
Yeah. One of a teacher of mine, his name's Ram Das. You know?
No, who is he? Did you see him recently?
He's like pretty immobile. He lives in Hawaii. And
Right.
He's like,
You've met him before though, right?
haven't met him. No.
Okay.
He was one of the godfathers of basically the hippie revolution
Okay.
in the 70s with his friend Timothy Leary.
Mm-hmm.
This Ram Dass, his name was Richard Alpert before, and he was a Harvard psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
then he went to, like, him and Tim Leary were experimenting with the effects of LSD on psychological
Oh yeah.
welfare,
Yeah.
and really delving into the science there, and
Sort of like using it for depression and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and figuring out certain mental issues.
Mm-hmm.
But then the orders of LSD that Harvard was making attracted a whole lot of attention from the police and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So they kind of had to get out of there. And Richard Alpert went to India and met this guru. And the guru, he had a vial of LSD in his back pocket. And the guru, Maharaji, was like, give me the medicine. And he didn't even know. He hadn't even said anything about this vial. And he was like, what? Okay. Gave him this vial, which would have been about 60 to 100 hits of LSD, and Maharaji just drank it. This guru who was naked in a blanket and had all these people just kind of helping him out, and nothing happened to him. And it's like some say that that's because he was already in that state of samadhi. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You can sometimes reach on those psychedelic experiences. But back to the point, this guy Ram Dass, the name that he got from the guru, and that he tells a story about his dad. So this guy Ram Dass is completely liberated, and he comes home and he's like this spiritual master, right? And he's influencing millions of people around the world. But his dad doesn't want a bar of it, and he realized from a spiritual perspective and the like laws of Dharma that it wasn't his place to like bring his dad over, you know. It's like everyone unfolds at their own rate. You can't tear the skin off the snake. The snake has to molt its skin. And so in that situation where there's people like, yo man, I don't give a fuck about the bags or the meat or all that kind of thing, it's like, okay, like that's totally your choice. Like, I'm gonna go and keep being the change, and someday you might see. Yeah. Does that kind of answer the question?
No, yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of just like focus on you, like what you can do, and usually living by example will be what will change other people. I like that. That's cool. So you guys did Owen want to have kind of like a community out on that land as well, or was it just growing hemp?
Yeah, man. So like, experimenting with lots of different ways in which we can exist. I mean, like, we can't all have 7-acre blocks of land and live in the bush. It has to be some kind of urban revolution as well in the way that we live, and we've tried to do that here with our veggie garden, compost system, and buying things in bulk, and living as a community. So out on the land, it would be really interesting to test out some kind of things. I've watched a couple of docos about these things in New Zealand. One's called Dirty Bloody Hippies, which is about some hippies during the 70s who were granted permission by the government. I think David Longy was the Prime Minister at that point, and this was near Motueka in the South Island, and they were given this land to prove how like you could live sustainably and more better fundamentally as a community out there. And it just kind of, the same patterns emerged, and There's all sorts of things, so I'm really wary about setting up communities and things.
Yeah.
But one step at a time, I think. And yeah, I think we need to, the main thing out of all of this is that we need to connect back to nature. And the fact that we're calling this plant a drug is like illustrates that point that we're just not connected to nature. I mean, of course, there's some, you know, there's plants that can be made into drugs and things, but I think a fundamental issue is that as a society we're losing our connection to nature, and that is our mother, Papa Tuanuku. That's where we're from, and people go weeks without standing on the grass. They'll just stay on the asphalt or keep the shoes on. They've just totally lost the connection to the thing which has created and birthed them. And so I think moving back to the land and getting to know the environment is going to be a huge thing that we focus on.
Yeah, that's cool. But like, what about for the people who do like live in apartments and stuff like that? How can you get connected with nature? And I like how you said connected, because I remember, I can't remember, it was like some guru, it was Buddha. He was talking about how everyone needs to realize that like we don't need to be like, people don't understand that we are nature, that like we don't, it's like we need to realize that connection to it. So I like how you're saying that.
Yeah, we are nature, and we have a compost system in our gut.
yeah. I forgot what the question was. What did I say?
What about the people in the apartment?
Yeah, like is it? Do you have any ways that you can like connect with nature just each day?
Yeah, I mean, like a place to start could be just like going and hanging out somewhere where there's some grass and some trees. And
it's just like taking your shoes off.
Yeah, take your shoes off, and like really, it's been proven that digging your hands into the soil will release certain hormones in the human body to create the serotonin levels for them to increase, you know, from just being in contact with the soil.
Wow.
And so that's one of the things they're doing out at Kaumana Gardens in Ponsonby, is getting people who are suffering from mental conditions, getting them into the garden and realizing the connection and really moving really quickly through that mental issue. So for the people in the apartments, what I'd say where to start would be to just try and spend some time at least once a week just like with a tree, and just like taking some really deep breaths and realizing that that tree is creating that air for you to breathe. And then even better, like try and find some hemp, because hemp breathes in 10 times the amount of CO2 as a tree, which takes 25 years to grow, and hemp takes 3 months.
Really, from seed to harvest. That's crazy.
Why aren't we planting more hemp, right? Like, at this
all these things you're saying, it's like, why don't we respect the thing that we come from? It's like, why aren't we doing all of this shit, you know? Like, I mean, I think we're all, like, our community here in Auckland is, like, about that, right? Just real obvious stuff. Like, it's almost a scam, right?
Yeah.
We're telling people to, like, go stand outside and drink, eat good food. It's, like, obvious as fuck, but like, no one's doing it, so... it's crazy,
And you gotta make time, eh? Like people could say, oh, I'm too busy to do that. And it's kind of like, whoa, like, if you're cruising along the motorway in your car, and your car's gonna run out of gas, are you too busy to pull over and fill it up?
Yeah.
You know? Immediately we'd spend like $1,000 fixing our car.
Yeah.
But won't spend any money on fixing our own house.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like it's like a wider thing. It's such a big thing, eh? There's so much to it.
Harder.
Have you done a Vipassana?
Yeah.
Right. So do you do any meditation? Is that like part of your practice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I fall in and out of my routines.
Yeah. Like I suppose no. Do you? That's really bad. I do it every day.
Yeah.
No.
I was like, wow. Yeah, bro. I'd like, whenever I can, in the morning I try and meditate. Even if it's just 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Vipassana, you mean to sit for an hour. twice a day.
Yeah.
Is that what you do?
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah. No, that's not what I did. No. I did it, you probably did the same the first like 2 days after. You're like real dedicated, and then you realize that you don't have time for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I feel like that's one thing that everyone can do is just kind of just spend like 1 or 2 minutes a day just with their breath and being present. Because as soon as you start doing that, then you start being like, instead of, because I think why people don't see the stuff around them that's happening is because they're like somewhere else, right? They're like living in the future or the past, like a combination of both.
Yeah.
So if you can just like slow down every once a day and just like see, that can be so helpful.
What was that word that he uses for that?
What is it? Starts with A, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, equanimity.
Equanimity, yeah. Equanimous. Remain equanimous. Yeah. But how was your experience on the Vipassana?
Oh man, it's crazy, eh?
Was it hard?
I thought I was going into a 10-day retreat, you know? Like,
dude, yeah, it got sold to me as a retreat as well.
Like that you were going to go chill and eat perfect food.
Yeah.
But it was actually one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, eh?
Yeah.
I remember on the first couple of days, because you wake up with the gong in the morning.
Yeah, at 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
Yeah.
And you can optionally go to that one.
Yeah.
And I would never go.
Oh, really?
I'd always stay in bed.
It's crazy because it's one of those things you get told the more work you do, the better outcome you have, but still you're just like, I don't want to, like, I just don't want to sit.
Bro, I would sit in my room and just like peel my fingernails back to the point where they were bleeding because I didn't want to meditate.
That shows just confronting yourself.
Yeah.
Like your mind is just so hard.
Yeah.
Because I found it it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah. Just sitting there.
Yeah. But also, what I took from it and now that I apply to my life has been so helpful. Because I did like a short podcast on if you should do a Vipassana, like last week.
Oh, right.
And I was like, yeah, if you want to learn lots of shit about yourself, definitely.
Yeah, and really open up the channels for healing to happen, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. But I was like, the other day, me and Rosalie sat down, did a day of Vipassana, like woke up at 4 and went to bed at 9.
Yeah.
And I was like, before then I was thinking about doing another one, a 10-day one, but I was like, nah, I'll tap out.
Yeah. So no talking, no eye contact.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Far out.
Yeah. It brought back so many memories.
Yeah. It's crazy how the certain pains manifest in your body and then they're associated with an emotion.
Yeah.
And you can feel it like working through and pass.
Yeah.
And the pain will be gone.
That's amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually made a realization the other day that, like, I didn't even figure this out, but so, like, when you get angry or sad or whatever, like, you do feel like you have body sensations in your body. So when you get angry, like, your chest tightens, you get, like, I feel it in, like, my throat and stuff.
Yeah.
And this is going to seem real obvious, but that's why you do the Vipassana, because when you're sitting, you watch these sensations arise in your body, then go away. Yeah. So it's like similar when you feel emotions, like, you see that mind-body connection. As soon as you start feeling anger, like, your body reacts. So if you can just observe it and then watch it go away, it's so powerful.
Yeah, man.
Just experimenting with, like, pain as well. Just like just if you get, like, a sore shoulder or, like, sore stomach, just, like, watching it, and it always will go away. It's crazy.
Yeah. Did you it's one of those situations where, like, funny stuff is like 100 times more funny.
Oh yeah.
Because you can't talk.
Yeah. Like watching the videos, right? Yeah, because we watched one at the end of our day that we did, and it wasn't that funny anymore. Because like after like 10 days, I was like cracking up on the retreat, but then I was like, oh, he's not even that funny.
Yeah.
It's like the Goenki guy, yeah.
The 10th day.
Yeah, far out. I mean, that's probably, a good place to wrap it up. But how can you sum up just our connection with nature, or we are nature and our body and stuff, like, to make people realize like that connection? Is there anything you would say to that? Just like.
Yeah. When you look at how the gut works, right? How there's trillions of bacteria.
I mean, we should probably talk about that, the gut. Because just when you said that, like, kombucha was just like a side thing, I was like, oh, okay, maybe not.
Yeah.
Sorry, Karen.
So, yeah. So in the gut, there's like, which I'm sure you know, there's trillions of bacteria which decipher how our body functions, and basically every single aspect in our bodies, from our immune system to our mood and our behavior. Our gut is like kind of the main brain. A lot of people say it's the first brain, and then the heart is like another brain, and then your brain is like another brain. But just looking at how the gut works and how inside it there's like a soft base of prebiotics, which is things like onions, bananas, artichokes. There's a whole lot of different types of prebiotic foods which act as like a really good base for
kind of like a soil, right?
Yeah, a soil.
But not soil, and you don't have soil in your stomach.
Yeah,
you don't have compost in your stomach. So good.
But it's like that's the metaphor though, right? It's like you lay this rich soil down, and then you ingest the things like coconut kefir, coconut yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, all of these things, and then they're able to take seed and root into this soil structure which you've created with just from the food that you're eating, and then all of a sudden your body starts changing, and you're pooing 3 times a day. And all of your bodily systems seem to be working a bit better now that you've like got this fundamental soil sorted. And that's when you say like, how can we directly see our connection to nature, is that's one of the things, is like looking at our body and our gut as a garden, and the same thing as our mind. Like what you think about, what only grows in your brain. So you don't want to be thinking negative thoughts, because that creates a garden of weeds. You want to kind of cut all of that out and focus on the positive. And the garden, the soil is like our bodies are really similar. As above, so below. Like our bodies are 80% water, depending on where you get your facts. And the earth is also a really high percentage of water. And then probably if you zoom that out again, like there's a whole lot of water in the universe too. And water is the fundamental of life in this dimension. It's a little bit.
You kind of touched on something real interesting though, is I think that people like think you can just eat probiotics and like that will make you healthy. You really do. You can't just have like a shitty diet and then like his probiotics good probiotics won't even stick. They'll just go right through you, right?
No, and in a lot of cases now in society, from all the stress and the foods that we've been eating, have created this really toxic gut bacteria system. Where the gut ends up deteriorating to the point where it has holes in it, which is called leaky gut, which is something which I've had and healed through. But even if you're eating the like chia seeds, all the best foods every day, and you've got leaky gut, it's not going to make any difference, because your body has fundamentally diminished. The gut wall has diminished, and food is leaking into your blood, and you're creating this whole toxic thing, mainly from stress. And stress is probably the number one cause of cancer, I'd say. And to just have a probiotic tablet that you take every day is probably not going to do what you want it to be doing, because there's a whole garden of supplies which you need to tend to, and you got to start right at the base, which is taking things, if you've got leaky gut, some symptoms are like serious bloating, cramping, constipation, fatigue is a huge sign of leaky gut. Like a lot of people are just so tired and they'll sleep for long periods of time, but they won't get any better. And you can trace that back to the gut biome being impaired. And so if you do have signs of leaky gut, the best things that you can take is aloe vera, which really helps to soothe and replenish the gut wall. Glutamine, which also helps to build the proteins. There's a native New Zealand tree called hohere or lace bark, which is similar to slippery elm. But slippery elm is actually an endangered plant.
Oh, right.
So
Don't need that.
what I've learned on some recent Rongoa Māori medicine courses is that hohere does the exact same thing.
Way.
And it's native to New Zealand.
Wow.
But you don't want to just be taking a probiotic pill. You want to change your diet so that you're eating prebiotic and probiotic foods and encouraging smooth passing through of the tract, the bowels. Even to the point where you should look into getting colonics. I've had a series of those and they've been hugely beneficial, to the point where I got, on the 4th day, got this little tar like alien, which was about 30 centimeters long, which had just been sitting in my gut.
Oh my god.
And there was parts of it which were thin and parts of it which were fat, which indicated the shape of my bowels. And because I experienced certain traumas or emotional bouts of behavior, where I feel it for me is in my gut. And if I don't correctly deal with those traumas, then the muscles in the bowel will remain tensed up. And you'll have trouble, just like how we're talking about the pains and the emotions. This is the same in the gut. So like if you've experienced, say, a breakup with a partner and your gut tenses up, the thing that came out of me was an indication of the shape of my bowel, which was crazy. And things get stuck in there and rot, and those turn into cancer too.
Wow. So get colonic. Get a colonic.
Get a colonic.
Wow. Amazing. And drink kombucha. Cool. Where can people find your stuff? Is Ed Not Med, is that still like a website or like a thing?
Yeah, that's just kind of gradually turned into my personal Instagram, Ed Not Med. And then you can also find Organic Mechanic, the Organic MC on Instagram, and hempforvictory.nz on Instagram too.
There's like lots of information on there and stuff. Cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for doing this, Graedon, bro. I know it's your day off,
so
I appreciate it, man.
Nah, thanks, man. It's good.
It's the best, bro. Cool. I think it's a good place.
Sweet.
Feeling good?
Cheers, bro. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no worries. Cool. See you guys.